What is going on, Sports Card Fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a tier ranking list of the USMNT 23, the roster I think will be taking to most World Cup qualifiers and maybe even World Cup 2022. Now keep in mind, World Cup 2022, far away, might not even qualify, could also have some other younger guys that kind of hop into the squad, but wanted to take a peek kind of after we've seen the Gold Cup in the Nations League, where we did win both of the trophies and have kind of solidified more of our lineup. These tournaments have really allowed us to see who those backups can be and who can fill in for us if we do need them. So with that, I feel pretty confident talking about the 23-man lineup and kind of where I'd rank them on a tier list. Of course, this is very personal. You may disagree. Would love to hear about it down below. But with that said, let's go and check it out. So here we are in the tier list. This will be a good time, and of course, again, controversial, but essentially I have them all position-based. I have the attackers up top, goalkeepers in the back, kind of working that way. So we'll go pretty quick because of course there's 23 guys. So Christian Politic, I mean, I feel like it's pretty easy just to say S tier, just because he's our best star. The one thing I will say, and I mean, it doesn't really take a genius to say this at this point, but injury history in the last year or two has been a little iffy. So, you know, can I trust that he will be healthy? No, but I mean, if healthy, he is of that caliber, so I definitely believe. Beyond that, we got Tim Weah right here, our backup right winger behind Gio Reyna. In my opinion, in our starting 11, I believe he should be starting, and I think Gio Reyna should be pushed in as a midfielder. And I mean, Gio's actually playing a good bit for Dortmund right now as a midfielder, so I think over time maybe that will be the transition. I would put Tim Weah, I mean, again, I want to say A tier, but just because of the injury history, and you know, I love him as much as anyone, I am going to put him in B tier, although I think he has A tier potential, and I do think he could be a starter for us going forward. So that's a little bit more so injury. With Pulisic, I can't downgrade him to A just because of injury, but with Tim Weah, where it's a little bit more dicey, I think. Beyond that, Brenden Aaronson, our backup left wing at this point, I would probably put him in the same tier as Tim Weah. I think I would personally err for Tim Weah more if we were to pick a starter between those two, but I do really like what Brenden Aaronson brings for our team. He also is a little bit more versatile in the sense that he can play midfield as well, but we do kind of have a lot of midfielders already, and I don't think we're going to need it. He's not as physical as I'd like in the midfield. I think he gets bodied a little bit, so I do like him more on the wing. Beyond that, Matthew Hoppe, I'm going to put him, personally, I'm not as high, although I did love what I saw in the Gold Cup. He was ferocious. He had that mentality that you love to see, especially in some rivalry games like that. But I am going to go C tier because personally, I think Tim Weah would be a better striker, honestly. And I think Brenden Aaronson would be a better winger option if we had to go and substitute anyone. So just off that reason, I got to put Hoppe at C tier. I do like him, but I'm just not convinced yet. Beyond that, we got Josh Sargent. This is like the worst because it's what everyone wants to battle. Hoppe versus Sargent versus DK versus Zardes versus it's just whoever you want, man. You know, there are so many people here to be discussed. I also did put Zardes actually accidentally back in the wing back tier. So just I don't want to put all three of these guys on the same tier. I'm gonna put Josh Sargent in B tier because, I mean, he's just proven in Berhalter's eyes that he is the guy for us. Will he continue to be? I'm not sure. But Sargent, in my opinion, makes the most out of the teammates around him and brings the best out of them. And in a squad like this where we have a lot of good players and we have a striker position that's kind of a question, I'd rather get the most out of other people with that striker rather than getting the most out of the striker, because I don't think we'll get anything out of the striker, at least worthwhile to that degree. So I'm going to put Sargent above. I'm going to put Zardes below. Now this is controversial in the sense that Zardes could be our starter. Like if Sargent doesn't perform and we're not sold on Hoppe, then I think Zardes might be the starter. The reason I'll put him a bit lower is because, I mean, at this point, he is older. He's not really a prospect. He's not really going to solidify a spot going forward. I mean, he's a fill-in. So for that reason, I'm going to put him lower, when in reality, he probably is a bit higher. Then the boy, Gio Reyna, my personal favorite, I got to put him in S tier. I think that, I mean, just watching him on Dortmund, he has it. I mean, in terms of just positioning, he knows where everyone's at. He never has a bad touch. Really, he makes good passes. He's very physical. He's good in the final third. Like, there's not a lot to complain about Gio Reyna. Now, of course, it comes with time and expectations and kind of, how the landscape develops around him. But I think he's our best player, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the Nations League, I thought he was the best player on our team for the Nations League. Just the entire time, he seemed like he was that person that you could go to and just have confidence that nothing bad was going to happen. Like, once the ball's at his feet, there's just a comforting feeling that I don't get with almost anyone else on this roster. I say that, but I go next to Eunice Moosa, who actually, I thought, and whenever he has the ball, he didn't play for us in the Nations League. I don't know if it was a Berhalter thing or a cap tie thing or what it was, but whenever he has played for us, I also feel that security on ball that I do with Reyna. I don't think he offers us as much upside as Reyna, so for that reason, I'm gonna put him in B tier. I really do want to put him in A tier, but at this point I just haven't seen him enough for our team, and with Valencia he hasn't gotten consistent minutes enough to prove himself to the degree that you would hope, and he also has an injury right now, so just a lot of uncertainties. I definitely think he could be an A tier player, maybe even potential for an S tier player, but for now I'm going to put him in B tier. Beyond that, Sebastian Lletget, I mean, honestly, I was going to try not to use the E tier at all, but I'm going to do it. Again, I don't know, maybe I'm just an MLS hater since I have two MLS guys down here, but also, again, I feel like Lletget is just a placeholder until we get someone better. And if you're a placeholder until we get someone better, I'm not going to put you in the B to C tier where I think these guys are actually useful assets for a long time to come. It doesn't make a ton of sense. And with Lletget, whenever I watch our team, and it feels like he's lost out there. Not in the sense that he doesn't know what to do, but in the sense that he's lost to me. I cannot see his impact on the game at all. Whenever he has the ball and has to take people on, it's not that great. Whenever he has the ball and has to find a quick pass or get some link-up play, it's not that great. Sure, he takes some set pieces for us. He does some certain things. He, I'm sure, is good in a team setting. I've watched some of the YouTube videos of the Behind the Crest, and honestly, seems like a good guy, seems like a great human, but that doesn't mean that he is of that caliber for the team. And I think, again, he's a placeholder. As much as I love him, gotta put him in E tier. Next up, Tyler Adams. This is tough. So here again, maybe S tier. Maybe you could say I'm just gonna put him in A tier. He has potential, definitely, I think, for S tier. But I think A is much better, just because, again, kind of injury history. I'm going to err a little bit lower if you constantly have those injuries and can't always be with the team. But he plays a very pivotal role for our team. Like, you can just tell whenever he is in our team that we have so much more certainty and confidence in terms of building out of the back and also breaking up those counterattacks that teams often like to, try to hit us with. So I think he offers us a lot. It won't be as noticeable as like a Pulisic or a Reyna, but it is certainly impactful, so he's got to be in the A tier. Weston McKennie, I also am going to put in A tier. I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand. Much different in the sense of what they bring to the team, but McKennie's more of just the box-to-box type of midfielder that you're looking for. Personally, I think that I would rather, if you're telling me I could only have one of these guys for the rest of their USMNT career and the other one's just going to go away, I would honestly rather have Tyler Adams. So I had to throw on my noise canceling software. There's some background noise, so if it's messing up at all, I apologize, but I do what I got to do. In terms of this, the reason I take Adams over McKennie is just because our depth at 6 is so little. I think that box-to-box midfielders, or just midfielders in general, that play higher up the field, I think that will be easier to attain as we grow as a just soccer-playing community. So I feel like Tyler Adams is a bit more valuable. So here we got Kellen Acosta, Tyler Adams back up at the 6. I'm going to throw him in D tier. Again, just someone I feel like is a positional kind of gap that we're just trying to cover up. In terms of where he stood with us for a while, a lot of people kind of didn't see him with the USMNT. He played himself out of our team, and now he's played himself back into the team. So I'm not going to rate him too highly just because he's back with us. He still is on the edge, but I mean, he looked a lot better than someone like Lletget, in my opinion, in the last year. So I would take him all day over him. Of course, they don't play the same position, but again, I would just take Acosta over Lletget. Moving on to the wingbacks, here I have Reggie Cannon. Personally, I think a C tier. Definitely not B in my opinion, but also, again, not D tier. At the moment, kind of the backup right back for us. I mean, honestly, man, I love Reggie, but I might even move him down to D, just because, again, if I'm gonna talk about depth, we have a ton of depth at right back. So as much as I like Reggie, and while he may be a starter for us, the C to D tier range kind of seems to fit. And just because we have so much depth at right back, one of the positions I think we have the most amount of depth, I will put him at D, even though I realistically think he's probably a C. Serginho Dest is an interesting one. I'm going to put him in A tier just because, I mean, I don't want to go with S tier, and I also don't think he deserves any lower than that. Of course, playing as the right back for Barca and kind of the impact that he's had for our team, he's the fullback that we feel the most confident in. We can play him on the right, we can play him on the left. He might look out of position sometimes, but at the same time, he also is a very attacking-based wingback. So I'm all about it. I think that he brings a lot for our team in terms of unlocking some of the people up top, which is kind of along the lines of what I talked about with Josh Sargent in terms of just making other people better. I think we will get that out of Dest. Other than that, Anthony Robinson at left back here, I'm going to throw him in C. The thing is, with left back, we don't have a ton of depth, so I think it is something. If we had a ton of depth, I'd probably put him on the same tier as Reggie Cannon. But I think what he's shown for us has been pretty good. Nothing astounding though, so I can't really put him up in the B tier of players that I feel like have really proven themselves. But I also can't put him any lower than that because he definitely hasn't played his way out of the left back position. I think getting on to defenders a little bit more. This one's a bit more tricky to talk about because we have a lot of younger defenders and goalkeepers. So I'm going to err on the side of caution here and not really hype up any of these guys too much. Miles Robinson came in with us during this last Gold Cup, looked really good in terms of where he stands with our main team because of how he looked there. I mean, I would probably say D tier in the sense that I see him as maybe starting. This is kind of the same as Reggie Cannon, could start for us, very likely, maybe a backup, but at the same time, potential to move forward. I think he's closer to C again rather than E, but I don't feel confident enough putting him into C just based off of the Gold Cup and how he performed with us in that. So Mark Mckenzie is tough. I'm going to put him in the same tier as Miles Robinson. I don't necessarily see anything crazy out of Mark Mckenzie that would make me feel as if he has to be in C tier over him for any reason. I think that they're very much one and the same in that I could see either of them starting for us or playing that first off the bench role for the center back position. Next up is Chris Richards. I personally am going to rate him a bit higher because he plays in the Bundesliga, he gets good minutes. He is injured, or I think he's coming off the injury now, but he's been injured a little bit. I think more potential with Richards rather than Mckenzie or Robinson, but at the same time hasn't really proven it for us, so I can't put him any higher than a C tier for that reason. Then John Brooks, I'm going to put John Brooks in the A tier, definitely not B tier, but also not S tier. He is just a great pillar of the team. He's not going to be fast. He's not going to be out there, just covering the whole pitch. That's why it's really nice to have Tyler Adams. He kind of covers for him a little bit along with whoever's going to be the pairing at center back. But everything else from John Brooks, I love it. The distribution, the ability to build out of the back, which is what we want. I think he does all of that extremely well. Very solid in the back, but again, not going to go around and break up all of the play. So for that reason, I will definitely put him in A tier. And then on to the goalies here. This one, honestly, take your pick. It's tough, man. It is tough. So I'm going to go with Zach Steffen in... I'm going to go with B tier. Matt Turner in B tier and Ethan Horvath in C tier. And that one's just tough, honestly. I could see the case for Zach Steffen being an A tier because we want to play out of the back, and because of that, we want a goalkeeper who's good with his feet, and I believe that Zach Steffen's better than Matt Turner with his feet. Matt Turner kind of proved in this tournament that he doesn't play well with his feet, so I feel like that's pretty conclusive at this point. But also, Zach Steffen looks way worse than Matt Turner in terms of shot stopping. Like, Matt Turner looked absurd, and that's what I've heard from MLS people for a while now. I don't watch a ton, or at least I haven't until recently. I've tried to watch more, but again, I'm not going to be able to know what the MLS stands know about Matt Turner, and from what I've seen during this last tournament, just absurd. So I think that that's pretty fair that they're even. Now, the hard part here is putting Ethan Horvath behind them. I know he had that, immense Gold Cup final, saved the pen, kind of the hero of it all. But at the same time, I haven't seen the consistency, and he hasn't played much for his club. So you know, I don't really have a whole lot to go off of. I don't know if he's going to be better with his feet than Zach Steffen is, and I don't know if he's going to be better at shot stopping than Matt Turner is. So for that reason, I'm going to go with C tier. And overall, I think this is a pretty good list. And so yeah, that is going to be it as far as this tier rankings video goes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to let me know your tiers down below in a comment. Would love to hear them. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. Might do videos like this in the future, kind of as we build up more towards that World Cup cycle, and maybe once we get there. So that'd be a lot of fun. But with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.